separate but equal. And I don't need to know the story of the whole case, but as long as facilities were equal, then you could actually segregate or separate white and black Americans. And then one other thing that I don't have up here, do y'all remember the doll test?
Yeah.
What was the doll test?
They set a black doll and a white doll in front of children, and even the little black girls went for the white doll.
Yeah, the gist of it was they would ask questions. Do you remember the questions? Does anybody remember?
Which one would you rather be? Would you rather be the black doll or would you rather be the white doll? And they asked the white children, which one would you rather be? And they said, they pointed to the white doll. They asked the black children, which one are you? And they pointed to the black doll. And they asked the black children, which one would you rather be? And they said the white doll.
Really close. Which one are you and which one do you want to be? So that's what they did. And the white kids always picked the white doll for both questions. The black kids would pick the black doll with who they were, but they would pick the white doll with who it is that they wanted to be. And in Brown versus Board of Education, they used this psychological/sociological evidence, and they said, this is an example that we're stamping these black children with a badge of inferiority from very early in their life that they're not ever going to overcome, separate but equal, even if the facilities are equal. Bricks, windows, books, facilities, all of this, it will be always inherently unequal because they're going to feel like they're second class. And they used this in Brown to desegregate the public schools. They struck it down, and it was the doll test that primarily did it.
So Brown won?
Yeah, the little girl won. Exactly. As we go into Congress, this is a bigger chapter, and I'm running low on time. I don't know how the heck that happened. But as we take a look at this, and we'll get into this fairly quick, what questions do y'all have from the terms for Chapter 11 dealing with the Congress? And here they are. Remove how a bill becomes a law. And what I think I'm going to do on this is I'm going to include how a bill becomes a law on the final. I'm going to include that on the final. Remove hotlined as well because we did not talk about that at all. So for the final, I'm going to put up a video from that day that I had gone over how a bill becomes a law, and I'll make sure that you have access to that, but don't worry about it for this. Go ahead, Evan.
Ex post facto law?
Ex post facto. What does that mean in Latin?
Right.
Not prior. After the fact. Ex post facto literally means after the fact. And what does that mean if you have an ex post facto law or a law that's after the fact? Anybody?
If you were a sex offender 20 years ago, it will still affect you today?
That is the article. The article that dealt with this was the sex offender article. If today is the 23rd, and if we pass a law today that deals with anything, in theory, when would that law take effect? Tomorrow, in a month, something along those lines. Ex post facto law says that really what you're going to do is pass a retroactive law. So if it is law today on the 23rd, you would actually make it effective on March the 23rd, and then you could go back and punish people if they violated the law. The problem is that if they just passed it, it wouldn't have been a law back in March. How could you punish somebody for doing something illegal that wasn't illegal when they were doing it? So that's banned. And this kind of overlaps with Article 1, Section 9. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution gives limits to the power of Congress. An ex post facto law is banned in Article 1, Section 9. Any other questions?
What's Article 1, Section 8?
Article 1, Section 8, do y'all remember what that was? If Article 1, Section 9 deals with the limits on Congress, what do you think Article 1, Section 8 is?
Powers.
Article 1, Section 8 deals specifically with the powers of Congress. Exactly. What other questions have you got?
Filibuster?
What's a filibuster?
When they can just keep talking, when Congress has the, when someone
Talking
gets the floor,
incessantly,
Congress
right?
can just keep talking.
Filibuster means that Congress, is it Congress or is it just part of the Congress? Which part?
House.
Senate.
Sorry.
In the Senate, you have unlimited debate. And if you remember, I had mentioned to you the idea of the cup and the saucer. The saucer is supposed to, in the Senate, the hot liquid in the cup is supposed to be like the passions of debate and the issues of the day. And you know, when you get a little shaky and you spill a little bit, those passions will spill over and they'll spill into the saucer where they're cool. The Senate, according to George Washington, was supposed to do this, and the filibuster was the reason why. As a filibusterer, you can get up and you can get control of the Senate floor, and you can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk as long as you continue to talk. Can you give me some examples of things that they talk about when they do this?
They read books.
The weather,
Dr. Seuss.
their clothes,
Reading the phone book.
reading the phone book, their grocery list, reading the Bible. Every once in a while they'll talk about the bill, every once in a while. And remember with this, it does not have to be germane. Germane means that it's related to the bill. You can talk about whatever you want. And I'd gone through all of the classes and I'd asked you like longest phone conversations and things like this. Usually the females seem to be a little longer on the phone, but that's not to say that that's exclusive, as Steffi makes a face. Do you remember what the longest filibuster was?
24 hours.
25 hours.
It was over 24 hours, between 24 and 25 hours. Do you remember who did it? Strom Thurmond did it, and he was actually protesting against the Civil Rights Act, and he did not want equal treatment for black Americans, spoke for over 24 hours. Ultimately, the bill was passed, but he looked like a hero to his people back home because he was standing up to the oppressive hands of the federal government. And I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but not really. What other questions? And there was an article, I believe, that dealt with filibuster, right? No, there was not. No, there was not. What other questions have you got regarding the terms?
Franking, yeah.
What was franking? This was from Eddie Murphy, but it wasn't actually in the movie.
Oh, it wasn't it like recognition? Like
Recognition?
No, that's name recognition. That's different.
Oh, it's
Mail, that's right. If you have a franking privilege, I had given you reasons for incumbency, and I guess that's not up here, but this would probably be a good thing to know.
You can mail as much as you want as long as you don't tell people how to vote.
Yeah, as long as you're not actively campaigning for their votes,
You get free mail.
free mail, free printing, free postage. Related with franking is the idea that you have free travel back and forth to your district from DC as much as you want. If you're a challenger, basically when you challenge somebody for Congress,
your own
you have to pay for all of those things. So if I'm a congressperson, I can tell them my votes, I can tell them what I did, I can show pictures of me holding those oversized checks. As long as I don't tell them to vote for me, all of this is legal, but all of those things that I show them would give them a reason to vote for me. So you're not specifically asking them, but you're subtly basically encouraging them with that. What other reasons is it that incumbency is so high, meaning an elected official is so highly likely to be reelected? What is name recognition?
People know it.
Familiarity.
Familiarity. The idea that they actually literally recognize your name. And if you remember from the Eddie Murphy movie, that husband and wife go to the polls. Who is it that we vote for Congress, honey? Isn't it Johnson? Oh, yeah, that's right. And then they go vote for Johnson and leave. They didn't even realize that that was not the same Johnson, and Johnson was dead. Name recognition. If somebody has been in Congress 10 years, or 20 years, or 30 years, then in fact what ends up happening is that it's very difficult for you, Vicar, to get your name recognized because their name after all that time is ingrained in people's minds, media coverage, pictures, this kind of a thing. So name recognition was one. Franking was one. What else? Reasons for incumbency.
Staff and experience.
What do you mean by staff?
I guess they have paid staff.
Yeah, if you remember from the Eddie Murphy movie, at that time it was about $500,000. Now it's closer to $1 million. Which means as a congressperson, my staff is going to be paid for by the government as I'm running for election. If I'm a challenger, I've got to pay for all of my staff in addition to paying for all of my mail. And I think I'd asked you, could you continue to work your job and run for Congress?
No.
Which means what else?
You have to quit your job. And then
Well, yeah, okay.
You know money was coming in, but all the money's going out.
Okay, what about the incumbent?
The incumbent is free everything.
The incumbent is continuing to get paid. A congressional salary is about $200,000 on the House side. If you quit your job, not only do you not have money in, like you said, but you're giving money out. You don't have money coming in for your bills. You're going to be paying for polling, paying for staff, paying for mailing. That's a big piece. What about experience? Why was that important? Anybody?
Isn't it once you say that you can become part of like the good committee?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The longer that you stay in DC, the better the committees you get on, which means you'll be able to bring more things home, which means they're going to continue to want to vote for you because the better committee, the more that you do. Why would I vote for Sarah if Sarah's going to have to start from scratch and she's going to be on the fisheries committee if I live in Iowa because we don't have fish in Iowa. There's no oceans there, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, they have fish in Iowa, but you know what I'm saying. So these were the things. The experience, the money, the staff, the name recognition, the franking, all of those were big pieces on this. What other questions do you have up here?
Bill of Attainder.
Bill of Attainder. What was a Bill of Attainder? Because this was the other thing that was in Article 1, Section 9.
The legislator will pass a law that will convict her guilty or innocent.
Yeah, Bill of Attainder basically says that we're going to pass a law that declares someone as innocent. Oftentimes, though, it's going to declare someone as guilty. And the bottom line is, and I'd asked all of you about this in classes, if you are charged with a crime by the police, you're not automatically guilty, but you get to go to court. Many of you said you would take an attorney. Somebody said they would take the public defender. I figure that just means that, you know, they have a little bit more experience in this. But the idea is, if you remember, is that you go and you get to present your side of the facts. Well, when you think about this in terms of Bill of Attainder, the legislature passes a law that declares you guilty. You don't have any role in the process. And they would declare somebody guilty, they would lock them up, they would then go after trying to steal their land from them, and if they're in jail, they could not fight to be able to protect it. So that's what a Bill of Attainder was. What were the characteristics of the House and the characteristics of the Senate?
House, you have to be 25 years old.
Minimum of 25.
To be a congressman.
Or woman.
7 years residency.
7-year residency.
2 years term.
2-year term.
435.
435 members. There are other things that we talked about that the House could specifically do, right?
Well, I actually had a question on
Yeah.
the residency. So the residency, like that's 7 years as a U.S. citizen, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have to like say you migrated, you do your like 13 whatever years, and then you do your 7. In order to become a legal citizen after you move into the country, it's like 13 something years.
It's 5 years.
Oh, 5?
Well, for our purposes, I'm not going to test you on that. Only understand the 7-year number, and that would begin from day 1.
Okay.
That would begin from day 1. What other things are unique to the House?
They can pass things as fast as they could
Why?
because they have the power.
Why? Why is it important for the House to act fast?
Because they only have a few minutes to talk.
Okay, that's good, but that's not what I'm looking for.
They only have a 2 years term.
They only have a 2-year term. The House is always pushing to get things fast. And in terms of elections, how much of the House is elected every 2 years? What's that? Half of the House? So it's like every other year there's an election. Half one year, half the next year. All of them are subject to election every 2 years.
So all 435.
All 435, which means that they are the most responsive to public opinion. They're always pushing to pass bills because they're almost, as soon as they get elected, running for the next one. It's also more volatile because you could have a Republican majority one year and then a big Democratic majority the next year and then a big Republican majority the following election. So it can change with all of the people actually running for office. Now, question as you look at this, what bill always must originate in the House? What kind of a bill must always originate in the House? Oh, shame. Shame. All revenue bills have got to originate in the House. And the argument is, with taxes, with spending, these kinds of things, it's got to originate in the House because the House is more reflective of the popular will. Money is important to people. We want people to basically be able to, when you think about it, have the best say over how their money is spent. But the Senate does get to vote on them. When it comes to impeachment, what does the House do?
They initiated it,
What does that mean, initiate it?
started
They start it. And if the House wanted to impeach somebody, what does it literally mean to impeach someone?
to remove someone from power.
It actually means to charge someone with an
Charged, but
offense.
They don't necessarily have to leave,
Right, right. Well, we'll get to this. So the House's role in impeachment is to have a simple majority vote where they can charge somebody with a crime, and then ultimately it will be the Senate that tries it to determine their innocence or guilt. I guess my point is that when you look at differences between the House and the Senate, be able to explain these to me. Because this is probably a question that's going to get you a lot of points if you do it the right way. If you list 25, if you list 7 years, if you list 2 years, if you list 435, that's the beginning of an answer.